the folly of youth. Like I was so, like egotistical and like full of myself. But I think that was like kind of a good thing.
Are you harder on yourself now or easier on yourself when it comes to goals for projects? You seem very driven.
Yeah. I think I'm easier on myself now, a little bit, because so many things have not happened in the way that I wanted, like especially in my 20s and even through my 30s. I was like, okay, this has to happen. I'd have my dream cast. I would have, oh, I'm going to take it to this big spot or this or that. And like a lot of that stuff just didn't work out. So having a lot of that like failure and rejection, I would say hardened me a little bit to that, but also made me more realistic. And I really just came out with like, okay, like I want to be able to do this full time, at some point, but even if I can't, I'm still doing it. I'm still being able to write. I can still make movies. That in and of itself is a blessing. So when I get rejections, which still happen, I try not to look at them as a sort of, devastating thing, and I don't beat myself up so much. It's like, I just try to learn from it and try to move forward.
Right. I was watching a comedy, came up on the side of YouTube. It was free with ads, and it was called like Smart Alec. And it was about a guy who was a PA who was a screenwriter, and his journey of meeting all these eccentric characters in LA who said, I'm going to fund your movie. And it is as kind of silly and cheesy and fun as it is, it's actually, it was an interesting look at how the industry works.
Yeah.
And so many people were like leading him on with different promises.
Yeah.
You had the wealthy heiress who just wanted to sort of date him and was stringing him along, and just all these different things. But the main goal was, how do I get this picture made? And most of it all fell through.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that is just sort of rinse and repeat. That's what happens to people. I don't know. I've never been through it, so.
I mean, that movie sounds like what I experienced early on, because I was a PA and I had a script and I was trying to get it to people. I mean, like, yeah, there's so many people out there, not to say that everybody or anyone has like any bad intentions, but
No.
but people are just, like they're doing what they're sort of doing, I guess, So yeah, you totally encounter that out here with people who have a lot of promises or want to do something and can follow through, and also maybe can't follow through for whatever reason. So yeah, that sounds pretty on point, that movie.
Yeah, I think they renamed it to Hollywood Dreaming or something like that. But I thought it's like they should show this in film schools, because as silly as it is, I feel like it talks about the industry in a very realistic way.
Yeah.
If you were interested in storytelling, you may also like our new book, Story Questions, the sponsor of today's video. It's a story tool that offers you over 1,500 story questions that you can use as story prompts. It's packed with over 40 categories, so whether you are in the brainstorming stages, developing characters, dialogue, or rewriting, it can help you at every stage of the writing process. We've linked up to story questions in the information section below. Now back to the interview. When we spoke to you in 2019, Adam, at one point you said you imagine yourself as a gifted young auteur, and then you started to realize that you weren't. Do you think that was almost a blessing that you did see yourself in that way, because it enabled you to take risks?
Maybe. I've honestly been thinking about that recently. It's interesting that you bring that up, because part of me goes like the folly of youth. Like I was so, like egotistical and like full of myself. But I think that was like kind of a good thing, right? Because like that sort of, insane self-belief to be able to move from Minnesota to Los Angeles and drive out, with like not a lot of money and be like, I'm going to make it in this town. Like, I know a lot of people do that, but like you really have to have that sort of insane self-belief to come into such a competitive market in a town and be like, I'm going to make a mark. Like that's kind of crazy, but like I thought that. But I think that was probably a good thing, especially in the early years, because that is what drove me. I was like, I'm going to be like Robert Rodriguez. I'm going to be like Tarantino, you know, and it's like, I certainly wasn't. God bless me. But, you know, I needed time to write and to live and to just sort of season myself and get better. And I think that is the majority of people. And that's not what I thought when I was younger. I was like, oh, like, you gotta, you know, like the Shane Black big screenplay sales of the 90s. You're like, oh yeah, like, I like that. Because people like the big flashy stories, you know, like they don't like the person who's, you know, underground, kind of like just been doing it for 20 years and then finally, you know, makes a small movie or whatever. Like, that's not as exciting in terms of stories and publicity. But yeah, I in some ways I still have a little bit of that voice in me because it just keeps me going, you know? But it has been tempered out with the reality of like, okay, like, I'm not going to be a Tarantino or a Scorsese or a Rodriguez or anything, but where can I be happy with myself, you know, and where my skills are? And knowing that I can keep improving my skills, you know, if I just keep working at it, which is great. So I don't know where I'll land. I sort of have erased, you know, that end goal. And it's really more about like the journey and am I proud of what I've done? Am I proud of what I'm doing now? And just, do I want to keep moving forward and doing it? And I do, because it gives me immense joy to be able to think up new ideas, as hard as that is for me, and to be able to write it and to be able to make something. Like, it's exciting and it's a high and it's what I love, you know, and it really resonates with my soul, as cheesy as that may sound. But
do you really feel like those Robert Rodriguez, Tarantino stories, Shane Black, that those are actually still happening today? That was a different time.
Totally different time.
Just totally different world. Social media wasn't really,
Yeah.
wasn't around. Maybe with Shane Black, I'm not sure the year that sale
Yeah.
happened. But
I mean, I think one of the problems, and maybe it's not a problem, but it was the information that I was going off of based on, you know, when I was born and when I came of age, where it's like, I thought that the model of the 90s, you know, especially the early 90s with Kevin Smith and Tarantino and blowing up, you know, with Sundance, like, I thought that that still applied in the mid to late 2000s. But that's when YouTube, you know, was really coming aboard, and influencers were not a thing, and content creators were not a thing back then. So it was this weird middle part where I was moving forward using the information from a bygone era that I thought was still existing in, you know, LA in 2007 and beyond. And it kind of wasn't, you know, if you made, you know, like a sort of paranormal activity found footage thing, like, you know, that would be a way to do it. But then I think it all switched to social media and content creators and YouTube stars. And now that is, I think, probably the new model for how people will try to make it in the future, which as a film lover is depressing to me a lot. But at the same time, you know, I think the chances are still just as slim, you know, to become viral or to be like the next big content creator. Like now, I'm sure that's even harder than before because of how many people can do that and are trying to do that.
sure, but in some ways, I think it's great that you, if you want to call it arrogance, I didn't see that in you when we spoke, 4 or 5 years ago. But I think that in some ways, that's great that you had that gumption, I guess we could call it that, to drive out. It's a scary thing. It seems like you have a support system, and it's, you know, not everybody can stay. A lot of people would turn the car around at a certain point.
Yeah.
You know, you get your car towed enough times, or somebody, you know, whatever, steals the backpack out of your, you know, trunk or something. As things happen here, you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
But so I think in some ways maybe that was really helpful.
Yeah, I think
Now you've
so.
stayed.
I think so. But I also have to look at it as like if things had not, I don't want to say worked out, but like, you know, when you're getting these green lights, and I'll bring that up again. If I kept, you know, getting that big red light and things weren't working, right? I think I probably would have stopped at some point. But, you know, things kept progressing, I guess, in like a positive way. So it's like, okay, well, like, this is kind of working. Let me keep going. And I've just kept following that path, following that thread, you know, to get me where I am today. And it's not necessarily where I thought I would be back then, but I'm pretty happy with where I am. You know, looking back and be like, I have 2 features under my belt. I have a bunch of shorts under my belt. I'm writing new things. I'm getting better, you know, with my skills. Like, that's all that really matters to me now.
And you have a book, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So very cool. And you work in the industry, and it looks like a really cool job too. So yeah, I think you should be proud.
Thanks.